The time is 12:04 p.m. We're on the record.
All right, it is 12:04, as Mr. Mayman said. This is Braden Pence again after the lunch period. Just wanted to remind you, Mr. Lakewold, that you're still under oath and that all the admonitions that you gave that we dealt with at the beginning of the deposition still apply, okay?
Yes, I understand.
I know there's a couple of things we need to address before we dive back in that came up over the lunch period, but in addition, and separate from those, is there any changes to your testimony that you'd like to bring up at this point?
Based on Ms. Yakely's and I's conversation on the first break, I had mentioned that she asked for clarification if the comments prior to Van Giesen were allowed or not allowed, or turned on or turned off. I believe my testimony was accurate because it was my understanding that they had always been on. However, I did learn during this break that prior to Van Giesen's time overseeing Facebook, there was a section of time that the comments were turned off, and he said that he and the sheriff did discuss turning them back on. So I don't recall being aware that they were ever off prior to that. And so, but I would like to make sure that it's clarified on the record that the accurate information is that there was a time prior to Van Giesen that the comments were turned off. And I don't know for how long a period of time that was.
Yeah, that is one of the issues that I wanted to address with you before we dive back into my outline. Thank you for that. Are there any other changes to your testimony you'd like to address at this point?
No.
Okay, so let's take that issue up now. Who is it you spoke with over the lunch period regarding that subject? And if it's your attorney, that's fine, but I would want to know, without telling me what your attorney said, if it's your attorney, but tell me who it is you spoke with.
I did speak with my attorney, and I also spoke with, for clarification purposes, Lieutenant Van Giesen on the comments question. And then I had him do the research for any other Bonner County Sheriff Facebook pages, as I knew that where there was one ghost account that we were never able to have access to, or administratively that I was aware of, never had access to, and he found two. I don't know which one is the one that I thought of, or if either of them are legitimate, or they could be completely fraudulent. I don't know anything about them other than, as I'm carrying on, Facebook would not give us access to them when requested many years ago, or to the one that I knew of. I'm sorry.
Okay, so you spoke with your attorney and you spoke with Mr. Van Giesen over the lunch period regarding.
So let me just clarify, Mr. Pence, we did not speak about the testimony that he just gave you. We were speaking about other matters.
Correct.
Got it. Okay. Okay. So regarding these factual issues you were looking into over the lunch period, you did not speak with your attorney regarding those. You did speak with Mr. Van Giesen. Is there anybody else you spoke with besides Mr. Van Giesen regarding those factual issues?
Regarding these factual issues and or this case, no. I did to speak to other people about work-related stuff.
And so the conversation with Mr. Van Giesen, did that occur over the phone or in person?
In person.
And how long about did you speak?
Maybe 2 minutes.
And what did you ask him?
I asked him if, to his knowledge, if prior to him managing Facebook, if comments section was ever turned off. And he said that yes, it had been turned off. He didn't know for how long. I believe I asked him if he knew for how long. He did not know. And I asked him when they got turned back on, and he said that after he had taken over the Facebook role, so to speak, the comments got turned back on.
Okay,
On that subject, and then further on, because he was at a computer where he could look it up, I asked him to see if any other Facebook accounts could be found with Bonner County Sheriff on them, and those are the two emails that through Miss Yakely were forwarded to you.
yes, thank you for doing that. I will address the emails I just got in a moment. So other than I'm not really interested in the ghost accounts right now. I'm more focused on the issue about the status of the comments prior to Mr. Van Giesen's arrival. My question to you is, do you have any idea how Mr. Van Giesen would have that information if some of this information occurred prior to his joining the Bonner County Sheriff's Office?
He was a member of the Bonner County Sheriff's Office during that time. He just wasn't actively dealing with Facebook, and I don't know how he would know that.
Okay, so the comments being turned off occurred during the time when he was an employee, but prior to him taking over the account.
That's my understanding, yes.
Okay. Prior to his arrival at the office, had the comments ever been turned off on the Facebook page?
Check to the phone.
I'm sorry, say that one more time.
Prior to Mr. Van Giesen coming to the office, had comments ever been turned off on the Facebook page?
Possibly, because I don't know how long of a period they had been turned off. I just learned that during the break.
I see. So you're saying, I understood you to have said that they were turned off, that the action of turning them off occurred while Mr. Van Giesen was employed, but prior to him taking over the account. But now I'm understanding this differently, that you're not sure when that occurred, but that it was the case that they were turned off during Van Giesen's employment until he took over the account.
Yeah, and I'm sorry if I'm not answering clearly, but let me try to help out. So I don't know I don't know when the comments were turned off initially, or my understanding is it's each individual post, it has to be manually turned off, but I'm not positive of that. That's my understanding. I don't know for how long that action had been taking place prior to Van Giesen taking over the Facebook role as manager, so to speak. So it could have been the entire time he was employed prior to taking over Facebook. It could have been a short time. I don't know. It was for a time. And I do know at some point prior to that, comments were allowed. So I don't know for how long they weren't allowed prior to him turning them back on or making comments available when he started managing the page. Hopefully that helps.
Yes, it does. It helps clarify what's not known, it sounds like, as opposed to, yeah.
Yes.
So, why was it that the Bonner County Sheriff's Office was not, or was turning off comments on each individual post prior to Mr. Van Giesen's taking over the account?
I don't know.
Why was Bonner County Sheriff's Office allowing public comments on Bonner County Sheriff's Office Facebook posts previously?
I don't know.
Who would know that?
Either the individual poster or the perhaps the sheriff. I don't know.
Was it a matter of, so it sounds like well, strike that. So there's no written policy regarding these issues prior to Van Giesen's arrival or subsequent. Was there an unwritten policy regarding these issues that you're aware of?
No,
Object to the form.
no.
So is it sort of up to the individual poster's discretion?
Same objection.
It would be my impression that that authority would come from myself or the sheriff. But I don't know if anybody took liberty themselves prior to Van Giesen managing the Facebook page.
Do you recall the conversation that occurred once Van Giesen took over the account regarding making comments available to the public?
No,
Object to the form.
You don't recall that?
no.
Who would know about that conversation if there was one?
Whoever was involved with it, I guess. I don't know.
Okay, so my next question deals with the emails I received over lunch. I haven't had a chance to read any of them, so please don't expect you're going to get any questions right now regarding the substance of them, but I did receive 5 emails. I understand it's been represented to me that 3 of them deal with updates that Mr. Van Giesen was providing to you and the sheriff about the Bonner County Sheriff Office Facebook page's public engagement. Is that right?
Yes,
And 2 of them deal with the ghost accounts we've been sort of alluding to throughout. Is that right?
yes.
Okay, so I will just put on the record my request that you do, as you have indicated off the record, to go ahead and do a complete search and make sure that we get all of those, okay?
Absolutely, yes.
Have you gathered records for this case prior to doing those searches today during lunch?
I was involved with, I don't recall individually gathering any records, but I was involved with the gathering of records.
Were you involved with the responses to written requests for discovery from the plaintiff in this case?
Yes,
Did you review the interrogatory responses and request for production responses and request for admission responses prior to those being served?
I believe so.
I don't believe we have a signed verification page from you on that.
I have that. Our attorney and I spoke yesterday about that, and that will be signed and sent. Hopefully today. I wasn't able to upload it yesterday and get it to you.
And just
Okay.
for the record, that was not provided with your discovery request. That wasn't sent until last week, I believe, by Ms. Rothman.
Yeah, I'm not pointing fingers. I'm just saying I do need that verification page. So as you sit here today under oath, were those responses accurate as of the date that you sent them back, whenever they were due?
I believe so.
I'm going to show you, well, hold on. Yeah. Before I move into Exhibit 15, which is the terms of use, want to ask one more question. I do want to press you on this testimony you gave that you have no knowledge regarding why public comments were allowed on Bonner County Sheriff's Office Facebook page posts during Mr. Van Giesen's tenure. I want to just confirm with you that that's your testimony here today under oath, knowing that this is essentially testimony in court before the jury, before the judge. Is that correct, that you testify under oath that you have no awareness of any conversations regarding why there was a change in terms of Mr. Van Giesen allowing public comments?
I'm going to object to the form. He didn't say he didn't know. He said he didn't recall. I believe that's his correct testimony.
I believe that's my correct testimony too. And to further that, perhaps a clarification of because you're making the question a little more absolute right now. I wasn't personally involved with any conversation regarding that I can recall. And there may or may not have been conversations about it. I don't know for certain who was involved with that. And I wasn't individually that I recall involved in any conversations, whether we turn comments on or off or otherwise.
You don't recall participating in those conversations. Is that your testimony?
Regarding the turning comments on and off, that's correct. I don't recall.
All right. So independent of participating personally in those conversations, are you aware of any such conversations occurring?
I think that again, I'm based to speculate, but I believe that Sheriff Wheeler and Lieutenant Van Giesen discussed turning comments on. Of course, I didn't know that they were off, and so I learned that just now.
So what is your understanding of the substance of that conversation, that discussion between Wheeler and Van Giesen regarding turning comments on?
I don't have an understanding of it. I'm speculating that it existed. I really don't recall.
All right, I'm going to show you what has been marked and previously. As Exhibit 15. All right, do you see this up on your screen?
I do.
It is, you see the yellow marker at the top saying Exhibit 15?
I do.
This is a one-page PDF. I'm happy to move around the page as you need, but this is appears to be a screenshot from Facebook. At the bottom of the page, I see Sheriff Daryl Wheeler's name and then the Bonner County Sheriff's Office. And this appears, I'll represent to you that we got this from the Bonner County Sheriff's Office Facebook page. Have you seen this document before or something like it?
Yes.
All right, what is this?
That appears to be the terms of use rules, or for lack of better terms, rules for terms of use for the Bonner County Sheriff's Office Facebook page.
Were you involved with developing the terms of use?
No.
Were you involved with approving of the terms of use in order for them to become effective?
I don't recall having any involvement regarding the implementation of it or the approval of it.
Were you involved with any other or earlier similar policy with respect to the BCSO Facebook page?
No.
Have you consulted this terms of use when dealing with issues regarding hiding or blocking individuals as a result of their use of the Facebook page?
Check to the form.
I have not.
And the reason I ask is because you had previously testified that you approved personally, or agreed rather, with the action of hiding certain comments and blocking Mr. Leighty. And so I'm wondering if in reaching that agreement, you had consulted with the terms of use.
I believe that was consistent with the terms of use, and I'm sorry if I misunderstood your prior question. I understood that question to be if I consulted with anybody about our terms of use. I did not. I'm familiar with the terms of use. I saw the terms of use. I wasn't involved with the implementation or the developing of the terms of use. However, with the terms of use and blocking and or hiding comments, I believe they were consistent with the terms of use that my understanding went through our attorney.
And who is it that would, excuse me, who is it that would be making the determination that Facebook users comment had violated these terms?
The final say so would be the sheriff or Sheriff Wheeler or myself.
And how would such a comment come to the attention of Sheriff Wheeler or yourself?
None were brought to my attention, so I don't know.
If a determination is made that a comment violates the terms of use, is it mandatory to hide that comment?
Check to the form.
No.
So it's a matter of discretion for the person making that determination?
There's a lot of hypotheticals in there, so yes, I would say that some of that would be discretionary.
What sort of policy or training helps guide that discretion, if any?
None.
How does the Bonner County Sheriff's Office prevent discretion from being used to discriminate against a comment based on viewpoint?
Check to the form.
I don't know.
To your knowledge, how many violations of the terms of use justify blocking a user?
Check to the form.
I don't know.
To your knowledge, is there any sort of written policy regarding the number of violations that would result in an individual being blocked?
No.
If a person was subject to having their comment hidden as a result of a violation of the terms of use, is there a process by which they could appeal that action of hiding the comment?
I don't know.
This may be asking you to speculate as a result of the answer to your last question that you don't know. if a person did contact the office and said, hey, I object to you hiding my comment, how would that objection be routed or considered within the office?
Object to the form.
Of course, speculative. My impression is it would go to ultimately either myself or the sheriff, unless somebody independently on their own did it, which we would probably learn about as a result. But for lack of better terms, that appeal would come to one of us, and most certainly then would go to whoever hid that comment, and then they would either change their opinion or assert the same opinion.
So unless there was some deviation with respect to the original hiding, the correct process would be that the original hiding would be approved by either yourself or Sheriff Wheeler, the same individual who would be dealing with the appeal, if any, correct?
Object to the form.
Yes.
What sort of notice, if any, does the Bonner County Sheriff's Office give to individuals whose comments have been hidden?
I'm not aware of any.
Is there any sort of written policy regarding an appeal process or notice process that would apply to the Facebook policy? Understanding there is no Facebook policy with respect to this, is there like another appeal or notice process that the sheriff's office has that would apply to this type of action of hiding?
Object to the form.
No.
I'm gonna have you focus in now on, I guess it's the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7th bullet point here in this list. Do you see that?
Can you put your cursor on it? That one?
Yeah,
Are not related
it says, yes, it says are not related to the posted topic.
Yes, I see that one.
That's one that I'm interested in talking a little bit more about. Is there any sort of written guidance other than this particular clause that explains what not related to the posted topic means?
No.
So who gets to decide what related and unrelated comments are?
I guess anybody could report it, and then the deciding factor would be the sheriff or myself.
Is the policy of the Bonner County Sheriff's Office to apply this particular rule regarding relevance to the posted topic uniformly to every comment?
Object to the form.
I'm not quite sure I completely understand that. Can you say that again?
Yeah, I'm happy to rephrase if the question doesn't make sense. So is there a policy or expectation or rule that this particular term of use regarding relation to the posted topic be applied uniformly to every comment
Object
on
to
the
the form. Sorry, I
on
thought
the
you were done.
BCSO on the BCSO Facebook page?
Object to the form.
I'm going to say I don't know.
Did the Bonner County Sheriff's Office assign resources sufficient to ensure that every comment on the Facebook page could be uniformly administered with respect to this rule?
No,
Why not?
I don't know.
How was the administration of this particular term of use supervised?
I don't know.
How does the off-topic rule this? I'm going to start using the term off-topic rule to refer to this particular bullet point, okay?
Okay.
Is that if you prefer a different term, I'm fine using it, but for me, this just easily rolls into off-topic. Does that sound fair?
I'm comfortable with that.
I'm sorry, you are comfortable or uncomfortable?
I am, yes, I am comfortable, and that is fine to use that terminology.
So my question then is, how does this off-topic rule benefit the Bonner County Sheriff's Office?
Check to the form.
I'm gonna go, I don't know.
How does the off-topic rule benefit the public?
Same objection.
Yeah, I don't know.
The second bullet point states that it is a violation of terms of use to have a comment. Well, I guess I'm going to be more clear than that. Strike that. The terms of use state the Bonner County Sheriff's Office reserves the right to remove comments that, and the second bullet point states, contain personal attacks. Do you see that?
Yes.
So I want to talk about the term personal attack. What does that mean?
Are you asking for my interpretation of that?
Yes, as a Bonner County Sheriff's Office undersheriff who was applying these terms of use and who is authorized to approve hiding and blocking of people who violate these terms, what does that clause, what does personal attack mean to you?
Check to the form.
I would say that is calling out anybody by name in a way that would be construed as an attack on their character and or something that is not true about that person.
So it has to be personal in that the person is named, and then it would have to be an attack in that you're attacking their character or contains untrue statements. Is that correct?
Yeah, those would be examples of what I would see as a personal attack.
So is it fair to say that personal attack has to be an attack on an individual as opposed to on the office in general?
The term personal, in my opinion, implies that one or more individuals would be called out individually or by name, or perhaps even, again, a lot of this is speculative. So by rank or by position, if it identifies down to a person, one personal or many personals individually, but that I don't know. I've gotten off track, so I'm sorry if I've gotten off track on your question.
Does personal attack include criticism of official law enforcement activity such as an investigation?
Check to the form.
It could.
So if I were to say that such and such an officer was involved in a poor quality investigation, could that be construed as a personal attack and therefore a basis to remove my comment?
It could.
So in that case, how does the Bonner County Sheriff's Office distinguish between a personal attack and legitimate criticism of law enforcement, which we earlier agreed was protected by the First Amendment?
You've in your question, you've basically commingled two assertions in that question. We agreed under certain terms that the freedom of speech exists, and some freedom of speech is based on circumstances could be questionable. So if you could help me out to point down the question to one answerable question. I don't want to answer one question with something that we that I agreed on another question, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, I just asked you, and maybe I'll ask the court reporter to read back the earlier question and answer regarding whether or not, if I said something along the lines of you such and such an officer did a poor quality investigation, would you please read that for us, Madam Court Reporter?
One moment.
I think we can save time asking me that question. Yes, I agree that somebody saying that we did a poor investigation is their First Amendment privilege, and I stand by that answer. I don't know if you're asking me in the context of application to this terms of use in this location, that I fully agree with that. So perhaps I'm reading too much into the question, and I apologize for that. So based on my recollection of how I answered that question, yes, I stand by that. Based on how the same thing would apply to our terms of use, I believe that there's not a black and white yes or no answer to that, as it applies to the ability to post that in Facebook based on our terms of use.
Undersheriff Lakewold, I asked you if I had said such and such an officer did a poor quality investigation, could that violate the terms of use? And you said it could.
Correct.
So, and then I asked you, how does Bonner County Sheriff's Office distinguish between a criticism like such and such an officer did a poor job on an investigation, from which I would assert to you, which I understood in your lengthy answer just now to have been protected speech? How do you distinguish that from a personal attack?
I'm going to object to the form. really, this is, I'm gonna object to the form. There's no clear hypothetical even pending, so I would imagine that's a
Miss
problem.
Yakely, you don't need to do speaking objections. Thank you very much. Mr. Lakewold, please answer.
Restate the question, please.
Yeah. If I were to post in response to a announcement on Facebook on the BCSO page about an investigation, and I were to say, this officer has engaged in a poor quality investigation, how do you distinguish between what I just said and a personal attack?
Same objection also calls for a legal conclusion.
I don't know. And I sincerely apologize. I don't know that I completely understand the question. So I think, I don't know if I understand the question.
All right. Let's move on to a new topic. I want to talk about conversations, meetings, and communications. Anything where you're talking to another person, whether it's in a meeting or a phone call or text message or email or phone, anything, okay?
Yes.
The time period would be during actually, this is complete time period. This is, I want to know from date of birth till now, okay?
All right.
When was the first time you heard about James Leighty?
Shortly after September of 2017.
And what brought you to his attention? Or what brought him to your attention?
I and many others were involved in a officer-involved shooting incident involving Craig Johnson, who was, my understanding, a personal friend of Mr. Leighty's.
And what was your personal involvement with that incident?
I was the undersheriff, and I was on scene as a part of the security detail in the attempted apprehension of Mr. Craig Johnson.
So you were present when the shooting occurred?
Yes.
Did you witness the shooting?
No, I could not see on the property. Yes, so I'm gonna go with no. I did not witness the actual shooting.
Did you hear the shooting?
Yes.
Object to the form. This is not relevant, and it seems like it's using up precious time, but go ahead.
So you heard it occur, but did not see it occur. Where were you located when the shooting happened?
Same objection.
I was driving our armored vehicle. I was in the driver's seat of our armored vehicle, parked on the opposite side of the residence that Mr. Johnson left. However, the house wasn't in between us. It was foliage that was blocking the field of view.
How many officers were on scene at that point?
Same objection.
I don't recall. Several.
And so Mr. Leighty wasn't there when that happened. Is that right?
Correct.
Okay, so what was it that brought about your awareness of him?
If I could recall, probably the initiation of requests for under Freedom of Information in regards to the incident.
Have you ever spoken with Mr. Leighty?
I have.
Please tell me about that.
I don't know if there was, I believe there was at least a couple of phone calls, one for certain. The only one that I recall very specifically, I was trying to give him some clarification on a request that he had made as to why the response, there was a part of the response that may not made sense to him. So I wanted to add some clarity. It was regarding history of cases.
And were those, so these are phone calls regarding public records?
Yes.
And were those public records regarding the Johnson shooting or something else?
And I could be wrong. I think we had two conversations. One probably was, and I don't recall if the one I remember more specifically, I don't recall if that had anything to do with the Johnson shooting or a different request that he had made.
So he's made requests of the Bonner County Sheriff's Office on multiple subjects.
Yes.
Do you recall discussing Mr. Leighty with anyone else within the Bonner County Sheriff's Office at any point since 2017?
I'm sure, yes, his name has come up at different points.
What is his reputation in your mind?
Check to the form.
What is he known for, rather?
He's known for being an advocate of his friend, and some people may not know even that, and so those people would probably know him as a requester, a frequent requester under the Freedom of Information.
Is Mr. Leighty's presence a welcome one around the Bonner County Sheriff's Office?
Check to the form.
Speculatively, I mean, I'm going to say probably not.
Why not?
Same objection.
I think that there's different perceptions. I don't know.
Has he made a bit of a pest of himself in terms of making a bunch of requests and posting things on the Facebook page that are critical of the Bonner County Sheriff's Office and essentially kind of making himself kind of a gadfly, kind of a, would that be fair to say?
Same objection.
That's possible.
Okay, and I guess I'll ask specifically in your personal opinion.
Same objection.
Yeah, I believe he's. I feel my personal opinion is I feel like I'm very patient with. I don't care what he asks for or otherwise. I believe that as an advocate for his friend, he's been. This is my personal opinion. I believe that he's been a good advocate for his friend. However, I believe that the information that he tries to exchange perhaps might be lend towards his position on how he feels about the officer involved shooting. But yeah, I don't have a whole lot of opinion about it.
Have you ever attended like a meeting, whether it be remote or phone teleconference or in-person meeting regarding Mr. Leighty?
I don't recall.
Do you recall having a discussion with Sheriff Wheeler regarding Mr. Leighty?
I'm
Object
sure.
to the form.
Yeah, I mean, I recall that. I mean, I'm sure that we've had discussions about him. I don't recall any specifics about any actual meeting or actual discussion or conversation, but um, the, he's a household name to a degree. So that's probably a broad term, but um, making requests and such to that frequency, there's, the name comes up amongst, several for various different reasons.
And during those discussions, have you developed any sort of opinion or understanding about Sheriff Wheeler's view of Mr. Leighty?
Object to the form.
I think it probably shares a similar view as mine.
Which is what?
What I just stated, that he's an advocate for his friend, and he asks a lot, and well, obviously he's a plaintiff in this case, and so those conversations have in passing have come up, but I can't recall anything significant one way or the other about it.
Do you recall specifically discussing with Sheriff Wheeler the blocking of Mr. Leighty?
I don't recall a specific conversation about it, but I do recall a mention of it either by him or it would have been literally just a in passing conversation about him. I don't recall any specifics, but I remember hearing about it, and I think it was probably from him, from the sheriff.
And do you recall any conversations with Sheriff Wheeler regarding hiding Mr. Leighty's comments?
My answer would be very similar. I remember maybe having a conversation, but not any specifics about what that would consist of or any details of it.
Do you recall any specific conversations with Mr. Van Giesen regarding hiding Mr. Leighty's comments or blocking Mr. Leighty?
Not specifically.
Did you become aware at any point of Mr. Van Giesen dissenting from the decision to hide Mr. Leighty's comments?
After at some point they were unhidden, and he was unblocked, or I don't know exactly what order that happened, but yeah, at some point he was again, for lack of better terms, my terminology, he was made whole again on our Facebook.
I think perhaps we misunderstood each other. I'm gonna restate the question. I'm not talking about the reinstatement or anything that happened subsequent to the lawsuit. I'm specifically asking, at the time the decision was made by, from what I understand from your testimony, was Sheriff Wheeler to hide Mr. Leighty's comments. Were you aware of any dissent? And by that, I mean disagreement voiced by Mr. Van Giesen regarding that decision?
I apologize. I missed the dissenting in the first question. No, I'm not aware of any.
were you aware of any dissent at the time of Sheriff Wheeler deciding to block Mr. Leighty from Mr. Van Giesen, that Mr. Van Giesen dissented during the discussion regarding blocking?
No,
What is your opinion regarding the decision to hide, as you sit here today, the decision to hide Mr. Leighty's comments?
Object to the form.
you're asking my opinion based on everything we know right now today?
Yes.
Well, I didn't have a strong opinion then. I really didn't care about the comments, and my opinion really doesn't change a whole lot now. I don't know that I don't care if they're there or not there. I recognize that they violate our terms of use, and I agree that they violate our terms of use. And at the time, I think perhaps the implementation of some of those decisions, going forward, will be looked at differently. However, we don't have comments turned on, and I would have preferred that we never turned comments on, because we cannot manage the information that perhaps gets shared, as I've mentioned before. So that was a long answer to your short question. I really don't care.
What about the decision to block Mr. Leighty? Do you care about that decision?
I think that there was an unintended consequence. I believe that there was some lack of awareness, perhaps, of how much actually got blocked. I knew at the time. I didn't know that others. I'm not sure if they knew or not, but I would probably suggest now that we would be more cautious about blocking anyway, or anyone, based on the unintended consequence that everything is completely blind to them. But again, it has very little effect if we don't have comments turned on.
So at the time Mr. Leighty was blocked, you were aware of the consequences of blocking, correct?
I believe so.
And you did not alert anybody to those consequences, is that correct?
Nope.
Why not?
I thought everybody was aware of that.
So knowing then about the consequences and knowing he was blocked, you supported the decision to block Mr. Leighty.
Yes.
Object to the form.
Why?
For the ongoing violation of the use of our terms and agreement, or terms of use agreement.
And the ongoing violations of the terms of use you just referred to, were you party to and aware of each of the comments that was hidden by Mr. Leighty?
I'm going to object to the form.
Sure, at the time.
At the time of the blocking, or of the hiding of the comments?
Yeah, as the hiding is going on, were you aware of which comments had been hidden?
I don't believe so. No, I don't recall.
Were you aware of all of the comments Mr. Leighty was making on the Facebook page?
No,
Were you aware at the time Mr. Leighty was blocked of which comments had been hidden?
at the time he was blocked. No, at some point, I don't know when, at some point I was given an overview of, I was told in passing, I guess a snapshot of a couple of those, but I don't recall knowing at the time.
Who gave you the overview?
I don't know if that was the sheriff or Detective Van Giesen, I'm sorry, yes, Lieutenant Van Giesen. I don't recall. Probably one of the two.
And what do you recall about the overview? What were you were told?
He was making disparaging comments about that were off topic in a thread that had no relevance to an investigation or what have you. I know that the only one I recall for certain was there was he put something about a civil case that the sheriff was involved with, posted it on a thread that had no relevance to that civil action and no relevance to really anything sheriff's office related.
So that's are there any other posts that you're aware of that you claim were off, that violated the off-topic rule
I was told
specifically?
there was a few. I don't know any details of any of them.
Okay, so your support for blocking Mr. Leighty relied upon the presentation to you of the claim that he had violated this in multiple occasions.
Yes.
Is it fair? I don't want to put words in your mouth, sir. I just want to ask you, does it seem fair to you? I'm sorry, the decision to hide Mr. Leighty's comments seemed to you at the time that it was a legal decision. Is that right?
Check to the form.
Yes.
Lawful.
I would agree that it was lawful. My interpretation is that it was lawful at the time.
And that at the time, what about now? Same answer?
Object to the following question.
I still believe that it's potentially lawful. However, I personally wouldn't take any action without seeking a greater degree of guidance, legal guidance on how that would look. So I'm going to say that, yeah, I still think it's legal, but I'm also going to say that I think there's a lot more of uncertainty built in around it based on what we're learning around the world.
And blocking at the time thought that was lawful. Fair to
Yes.
say?
Yes.
Object to the form.
Yeah, and Ms. Yakely, I will accept that. I understand all these questions have the same objection regarding, at least regarding cause for legal conclusion.
Okay,
So just to round it out here, for blocking, as you sit here today, understand that to be lawful today, or is it, there's a little bit more confusion?
I'd say that there's a little bit more confusion, but I'd say there's a lot more confusion, and so I'm going to say that I believe that under certain circumstances, people can still be blocked. However, it calls for a great deal of speculation. So I'm not going to say always, or I'm not going to say never. I mean, there's a possibility that I would agree that somebody could be blocked today based on everything I know. And I believe that there's a greater amount of scrutiny that should go into that decision. And it shouldn't be done very lightly.
Would you characterize the decision to hide Mr. Leighty's comments and block him prior to the awareness of these issues to have been a decision that was entered into lightly?
check to the form.
I don't know.
If I understand your testimony correctly, you've testified that you did not direct anybody to hide any of Mr. Lee's comments. Is that correct?
Yes,
And that you did not direct anybody to hide anyone else's comments besides Mr. Leedy. Is that correct?
correct.
And that you did not direct anybody to block anybody from the Bonner County Sheriff's Facebook page. Is that correct?
Correct.
So not Mr. Lee and nobody else either.
No, no one else. Correct.
I do recall you saying something about getting advice of counsel regarding the terms of use. But prior to those being entered into, I'm not asking you about the content of that presently, but did I get that correctly that you're aware of there being an attorney consulted with respect to the development of those terms of use?
Yes, I am.
Are you aware of there being a consultation with an attorney regarding the hiding of Mr. Leedy's comments or blocking Mr. Leedy?
I'm not aware of any.
All right, it's 1:10. How are we doing? Should we keep going? May need to break.
It's up to you. Are you gonna be done in an hour and a half? Or an hour and
Oh, yeah,
15?
definitely.
Take a break? We can take a break if you think you'll be done. If you need that 15 minutes, let's keep going. Just, try and get him done.
Sure. I'm gonna show you a couple of exhibits that were previously used in this case. I'm gonna pull up exhibit 3. (11) and 12 and 13 as kind of as a group. One at a time. So first, I'm going to show you what has been marked as exhibit 3. Now, these are all materials that have been provided to us by your counsel in the course of discovery. I'm showing you exhibit 3 now. Do you see this document on your screen?
Yes,
And the stamp saying exhibit 3?
yes, I do.
All right, this is a 2-page PDF. Going to the top of the first page, there's a hand. It appears to be a photograph showing a screen of a cell phone. Just off the top, does this two pages of photographs look familiar to you?
Yes.
Okay, do you know whose hand that is by any chance?
I don't. I almost want to hold up my hand and try to compare, but I don't believe it's mine.
Okay. Looking at the substance of them, the first text on the screen says Sunday, April 9th, 4:41 p.m. Can you check and confirm that Leedy is no longer blocked on the SO Facebook? And then below that, the response says from the first page rolling into the second page. Confirm no longer blocked, question mark. Haven't been told to unblock him, going down to the second page. He is still blocked. Do you want me to unblock him tomorrow? He would be able to like and share posts. Happy Easter. That's got a J on it. And then the response says, yes, please unblock him. Thanks. Thought we already had, but tomorrow morning is fine. The response to that is a thumbs up. Do you recall this text thread? Were you a party to this? What can you tell us about this?
Without names on there, but I recognize that exchange, and I believe that was between Lieutenant Van Giesen and myself. And I believe the blue section would be my questions to Lieutenant Van Giesen, and then the J would be, let me look at that. Yes, I believe the J would be Lieutenant Van Giesen.
What's his first name?
John.
So that corresponds with the J potentially,
Yes.
or at least is consistent with what your understanding is.
Yes.
I'm going to show you now what I believe has been marked as Exhibit 11. Do you see a different document on the screen with the Exhibit 11 stamp at the top?
Yes.
This is kind of a different format of text messages. This is a one-page PDF.
Okay.
It appears to be the same subject matter, though. Can you confirm that for us?
Check to the form.
I can move back if you prefer.
No, I mean, yeah, it looks like basically the same exchange, different form and different phone and different format.
Right. Would you agree this is the other side of the same conversation?
Yes.
The form.
So I'm moving to Exhibit 12. This is the same format as Exhibit 11. Do you see 12 on the screen now?
Yes.
Is this, and the term 10-4, we were told by Mr. Van Giesen that's a phrase you use and that Sheriff Wheeler does not use. Is that correct?
I'm gonna go with probably. I think that a lot of people get 10-4 from me. Perhaps even my legal counsel that's on here. I don't know.
So it's indicating that JD Leighty is no longer blocked. You say 10-4, thanks. I mean, I guess I'm asking, do you agree that this is a text conversation between you and then Detective Van Giesen?
Yes, especially based on the right screenshot of that. I think I recall receiving the Lucas and Beth. Oh, Lucas. Oh, that's right. There was maybe a third name. Lucas and Beth have been unblocked from Facebook. There are no blocked users now. Yeah, that looks like an exchange that I was involved with.
So did you direct Mr. Van Giesen to also unblock Lucas and Beth?
Yes.
Why?
I didn't know at some point during the unblocking or the timeline of unblocking Mr. Leighty, I learned that we still had, well, it looks like 2 other people blocked. And so based on the spirit of our assertion to unblock users, I wanted to make sure all people were unblocked and we had no blockage. especially ones that at least I didn't know anything about them being blocked.
And then moving on to exhibit 13. Do you see that on your screen now?
Yes,
This is a one-page PDF. It appears to be the same format as the last two exhibits regarding and consistent with that. It says, "Hi, John, this guy is posting some strange stuff on the chaplain's post." And the response from apparently Van Giesen, copy, I'll hide both posts. Done. Do you see that?
yes,
So does that appear to be a text between you and Mr. Van Giesen directing hiding of at least this person's post?
that doesn't look familiar to me. I don't recall that exchange.
Okay. So that may be somebody else, not you.
Yes,
So 11 and 12 are your texts and 13 is somebody else, apparently to Mr. Van Giesen.
yes.
Thank you. I'm gonna show you a couple of other exhibits. Exhibit 9. Right now, exhibit 9. Do you see that on your screen?
Yes.
Do you know whose text messages these are?
Let me read them for just a moment. I have no idea. Doesn't look like, it doesn't ring a bell of an exchange that I had.
Right, I'm gonna show you exhibit 10. You see that on your screen?
Yes,
It's a one-page PDF. Take a look at these and let me know if you know who it is these texts are between.
I don't know.
Do you remember any conversation regarding a John? This says Spicer Blount, which is an error. It's Spicer Blount. John Spicer Blount, Facebook account commenting on the BCSO Facebook page.
No.
All right, I'm gonna show you one more exhibit here. For sure, this is exhibit 5. Do you see this on your page?
Yes, sir.
On your screen, excuse me. And we see the exhibit 5 stamp at the bottom.
Yes.
Okay, so this is a April 21st, 2022 Bonner County Sheriff's Post Office 4-page document printed out from the Facebook page provided to us by your attorney during the course of discovery in this case. Have you seen this before?
It looks familiar. The pictures look familiar, and I don't know if it was because of that exchange but yeah, it looks familiar.
Okay. This post says, are you a fan of true crime shows? Forensic Files spent last week at the Bonner County Sheriff's Office filming an upcoming episode. Here are some of the quote behind the scenes end quote pictures featuring Detective Sergeant Phil Stella, Jackie Rogers, and Sheriff Daryl Wheeler. Stay tuned for more information. Hint, this Forensic File episode will be about a 2017 murder. It's got a few photographs here, including one of Daryl Wheeler. Is that Sheriff Wheeler here at the bottom left?
Yes.
Down below, we have some comments. The first comment also by the Bonner County Sheriff's Office, and some other comments and responses to that comment. Have you seen this document before?
I don't know that I've read it, but it looks familiar based on what we maybe had provided through discovery.
So on the page 4 here, there is a, well, let me ask you one other quick question. Is your understanding of the font here, where do you see how this original, this statement here, Bonner County Sheriff's Office, is in like a darker font, and then some of these ones below are in like a lighter font?
Yes.
Do you see that? Like slightly grayer?
Yes. Yes, sir. I see it.
So some of the original first level comments are in dark font, and some of the response comments to the comments are dark. Some are in light gray. It appears to us, and I'll put it to you, that it's true that the gray fonts were hidden. So they're showing up here as a printout from the Facebook page, but in fact, they're not visible on the website to at the time to anybody. Does that track with your understanding of what was going on here?
That I would. I'm sorry, Ms. Yakely, go ahead with your objection, and then I'll answer.
I just said object to the form.
Yes, I would agree with your assertion that the bolder looking, darker colored are visible, and the other lighter color are likely hidden.
So moving down to the very bottom here on the 4th page, this one here, where Mr. Leighty writes, or this is account JD Leighty, just as an initial question, JD Leighty account, that's the account that had comments hidden and was blocked and is associated with the plaintiff, in this case, JD Leighty, to your understanding. Is that right?
Yes.
So Mr. Leighty's comment is, oh, dang, boy, do I have some information about you guys. Quote, Detective, end quote, Stella, remember when you and your team killed Craig Johnson on 9/26/17? The missing phone message, the lack of fingerprints, DNA, and your dirt on a gun you claim he had, and the lies that Johnson was, quote, aggressing toward, end quote, your hidden snipers when they shot him in the back. A lot of interesting stuff when it comes to forensics. That comment was hidden. Will you please let me know what term of use is that this comment violates?
Well, I apologize for not having the terms of use in front of me.
Let's not let that get in our way. I will pull that up for you.
Okay. I'll test your abilities. Is it possible to have both up at the same time?
It certainly is. So I will do. Okay, let me do that. There we go. Look at this. This isn't very smooth. I'm not going to get points for smoothness, but I think I
Hey,
can do it.
you're going to pull it off, I think.
So on the left here, as you can see, I've got Exhibit 15. Do you see that?
Yes.
And on the right, we've got Exhibit 5. Do you see that?
Yes.
All right. I'm going down to the bottom here where the Leighty comment is. So
Okay,
take your time.
So I'm gonna start with contain personal attacks. I believe that contains personal attacks.
All right. Any other violations? And I'm sorry that I don't have the whole comment on here. I can scroll over if anything.
No, I think there's enough that I can work from. Although it certainly could be argued, I don't believe that's related to the posted topic.
Okay. Anyone else?
Naming a victim and or suspect in a crime.
Anything else?
Not offhand.
Okay, so personal attacks. Let's start with that. What constitutes a personal attack here?
He's called out Detective Stella by name and giving the reader the impression that Detective Stella and or his team, he talks about phone messages that are missing, lack of fingerprints, lack of DNA, or he mentions DNA. Let's see, the missing phone message, the lack of fingerprints, DNA, and dirt on a gun you claim he had, and the lies that Johnson was aggressive toward. Basically, so in essence, he's by name attacked Detective Stella with those, well, and his team, so others, but Detective Stella by name, and inferring that there's lies missing, that he had something to do with missing fingerprints, phone message, DNA, etc.
So one question I have is, I mean, certainly this is critical of the Bonner County Sheriff's Office and specifically of Detective Stella and his team. One thing that's confusing to me is, on the one hand, it has to be on topic. And speaking of calling Detective Stella out, he's called out by name in the original post by your office, correct?
Yes.
So how can someone on topic respond to the subject matter of the post by invoking the name that your office brought up without falling afoul of the personal attack rule?
They could say,
To the form.
I'm sorry, go ahead with your objection.
Just object to the form.
he could say several things about Detective Stella that aren't a personal attack that has no basis for the attack. So somebody could say something good job, Detective Stella, and call them out by name. Some people could say, I don't think Detective Stella did a good job on this investigation. That would at least be on that point. However, it is a disparaging comment to a particular deputy. So I think, or member of the organization. So I think that basically anything that has a disparaging comment, and or especially when there's several items, accusations about Detective Stella that are false and untrue, and then furthermore they have no, they're completely off topic, although the only thing that commingles is Detective Stella. So
Well, let's not, speaking of commingling, bring up another, basis until we're done with this one.
okay, sorry.
I do want to address the off topic. My understanding was that we're talking about personal attacks. So the name Detective Stella didn't come up from Mr. Leighty initially. The inception of that was the original post. It sounds like the personal attack issue is more about the substance of what Mr. Leighty is saying. That he is disparaging Detective Stella and his team. Is that fair?
Yes.
And he's saying specific things that are related to law enforcement and the work. He's not saying Detective Stella had an affair with Sally Joe, or Detective Stella's cheating on his taxes, or he's not talking about things that are outside the realm of Detective Stella's job, correct?
Check to the form.
Well, there's I'm gonna say there's a few things in there that have nothing to do with Detective Stella and or his job, but it's all, I guess all the comments are relative to one case. So I'll say yes, it wasn't an attack on his IRS filings or his family or what have you.
Well, help me understand what it is about this that does not deal with Detective Stella's job.
The missing phone message. What does that have to do with Detective Stella and his job?
Well, do you know what Mr. Leighty's referring to there?
I do.
Well, what is he referring to?
Mr. Leighty has asserted that there was a phone message left on the Bonner County Sheriff's Office phone system sometime between our patrol deputy's interaction with Mr. Johnson and the emergency response team's interaction with Mr. Johnson. He claimed he feels that there was a phone message left, and there just simply wasn't.
Yeah, there's a whole lot of details we're not going to get into about that, right?
Right.
He's saying that on day one, there was some contact between a BCSO sheriff's deputy. A few days later, the SWAT team comes out and the shooting happens. And between those two dates, there's a phone message left on a server, and the server ends up disappearing. And there's a whole bunch of controversies about all that stuff, correct?
Yeah, it's first I've heard about a server disappearing, but anyway, go ahead. Yes.
Okay. Yeah, there's a whole underlying story that's not about this case. So there's something about a phone message from a person who ended up being shot and getting killed. And that a phone message from a suspect in a crime would certainly be evidence that law enforcement would gather in a normal investigation, correct?
Yes.
That'd be common in law enforcement, right?
Yes.
Check to the form.
So gathering a phone message would be an evidentiary aspect of a law enforcement officer's job,
Yes,
generally speaking.
yes.
Okay, so the phone message was one thing you'd brought up. Was there, what else was not part of Detective Stella's job here?
I'll go with it. Any or all can be probably argued either way, essentially based on the overall totality of Detective Stella's job. Something in each of that will meet his job.
Okay, so Mr. Leighty is disparaging the work product, the quality of work, or the law enforcement, but it's with respect to Detective Stella's job, and Detective Stella's name was brought up in the original post.
Mhm.
And so what about the disparagement here? And I'm going to use, there's another word for disparagement is criticism, is it not?
Yes.
Object to the form.
So what about the criticism here that Mr. Leighty is bringing up about Detective Stella's work-related issues crosses over from just criticism into a personal attack that will result in a hiding of a comment?
Objection.
I think one of the pivotal portions that go beyond professional, go beyond work product and to personal is lies. So he's called Detective Stella a liar in this post, and that's personal. That then, I mean, that could be career changing. Has there, if there was a foundation for that, and so that's a personal attack, and again, that in itself, in my opinion, is a lie. So
Yeah, okay. I appreciate it. It's your opinion that it's a lie. Factually, it would be very important with respect to whether a law enforcement officer is telling the truth or not, especially in a deadly use of force situation. Would you agree with that?
yes,
Object to the form.
So whether Mr. Johnson was aggressing toward the hidden snipers or not is a factual issue. Correct?
An objection.
yes,
And Mr. Leighty, who wasn't there, says that that's a lie. Correct?
correct,
And you, who couldn't see what was happening, say that that's true. Correct?
correct.
Just going to put a standing objection on this entire dialogue. It's object to the form.
Noted. So, and you said that's true, that you're standing by your colleagues who shot Mr. Johnson, that they're being accurate when they say that Johnson was aggressing towards the snipers.
Yes,
Okay, so it's fair to say that there's a disagreement here about this factual issue between yourself and Mr. Leighty. Is that right?
Object to the form.
yes,
So was Sheriff Wheeler present for the Johnson shooting?
no,
So I guess my question is, if there's a disagreement about a factual issue and someone has an opinion that something is true and you have an opinion something is false, why is that a basis to call something a personal attack?
Object to the form.
because there's no basis for for that personal attack.
Well, I guess I'm asking, why is it a personal attack if someone is criticizing an individually named officer that the office itself named Mr. Stella, and Mr. Leighty is talking about the subject matter of Mr. Stella's work? and criticizing Mr. Stella and criticizing the team that resulted in the death of a human being, and there's a disagreement about a fact on that, why is that a personal attack?
Same objection. I'd be happy to tell you what my objection is if you would like.
No, thanks. What's your personal, why is that a personal attack?
Because he's called him a liar.
Well, and he would be a liar if it was untrue that Johnson was aggressing, right? We've agreed on that already.
Same objection.
Well, yes.
And Mr. Leighty concludes with a lot of interesting stuff when it comes to forensics, all these issues about whether a witness is telling the truth, whether evidence was gathered or not, DNA, fingerprints, dealing with under the rubric of forensics. When the topic of the original post was a TV show that your office was participating in called Forensic Files. Would you concede at this point that Mr. Leighty's comment was at least arguably within like the on topic?
Same objection.
I believe you're asking for my personal opinion, which would be that him adding the forensic component at the bottom is the only connection to the topic that he was posting on. So arguably, yes, by adding that, that could add a component that was on topic, but the majority of it had nothing to do with the topic.
Well, I want to draw your attention to this line here where it says, hint, this Forensic Files episode, the specific episode that your office was participating in, was about a 2017 murder.
Yes.
And the Craig Johnson killing occurred in 2017, correct?
Yes.
And if an unjustified killing by an officer would be a murder, would it not?
Correct.
All right. How about this comment right here? Brian King's comment, in black, not hidden. My students and I were discussing the importance of constitutional sheriffs and the protection of individual sovereignty. And I was using Sheriff Wheeler's actions of the past 2 years as examples. I'm looking forward to our students meeting with him. Why is that on topic?
And I apologize, sir, it's your choice whether you want to go back to it, but there was another on the post that Mr. Leighty wrote that was hidden. There was another terms of use violation that I identified. If you want to discuss that, we can, or we can move on to this one. I'm comfortable with either.
Well, yeah, I don't think we're going to come to an agreement on whether any of the violations that you claim apply or not. But I guess I'm turning to a different one where maybe we will have agreement. Brian King. Does Brian King's comment violate the on-topic rule?
Not particularly.
Okay, does it deal with forensics?
I don't see forensics in there.
Does it deal with a TV show or with a 2017 case or with any of the individuals named above other than Sheriff Wheeler?
No.
So why is this allowed to be on the Facebook page if it violates the off-topic rule?
Object to the form.
I don't know.
Is it because it doesn't criticize the Bonner County Sheriff's Office?
I don't know.
So it may be because this comment is supportive of Sheriff Wheeler. The other comment was critical of the office,
Object to
is
the form.
why there's different treatment between the two.
Object to the form.
I'm sorry, was that a question? It sounded like a statement.
That was a question.
Oh, I don't know.
Council, as a videographer, we need to make a media break in 10 minutes.
I think now is a great time to take a media break. Thank you, Mr. Mann. I appreciate it.
Okay,
Let's come back at 2.
the time is 1:50 p.m. We're off the record.